Hello. Hi.
Hi, Brandy.
Hi, Maho. Hi, everyone who is viewing. Welcome to the For Animals for Earth podcast. Today, we are talking about animal protection in Japan with my friend Maho Uehara Cavalier, who is a member of the Humane League Japan organization and a friend of mine from many years back.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
think depending on how long, anyone that's listening has followed the show, I used to live in Tokyo and I met Maho. I was actually trying to place exactly how we met, but the two of us together worked
Hmm.
on a project called
Yeah.
Animal Walk Tokyo after the tsunami. And we worked together with other amazing people to fundraise to help local shelters in Tokyo, as well as kind of bridge the gap between the foreign community and the local animal rescue community for
Hmm.
everyone who had a passion around animal rescue and wanted to do something to help. So that's how we met. Maho continued on to become really involved in helping animals in Japan, and as y'all know, I left and I live in Los Angeles now, but we are reconnecting today for the first time, seeing
Yeah.
each other in almost
Yeah.
8 years, which is
It,
incredible.
it's incredible. I remember the first day I saw you, I met you. It was Yoyogi Park. You remember we did the first animal walk, and yeah, I remember you had a ponytail, and I remember kind of, yeah, you were wearing flip flops.
That I
And then,
love. Oh my gosh. I love that you can remember how we met. Yeah, that
yeah, I
day was
remember.
insane. So for those who are watching, to give you paint a picture of that day for you, we
Yeah,
decided that we would just throw together this little fundraising walk at
yeah,
Yoyogi Park. And it
yeah.
was, I don't know, maybe 3, 4 months after the tsunami. And
Yes, that was.
over 100 people showed up. And we were so not prepared for that. And it was we got in trouble for having the tables. And I mean, it was a mess, but it was amazing because it brought together all these people with the same
Yeah,
passion. We raised a bunch of money to help the local shelters, and
yeah,
it
yeah,
started Animal Walk Tokyo.
yeah, definitely. That was, yeah, after tsunami, there are a lot of abandoned animals, right?
Mhm.
And volunteers were there, and then they're, having hard time collecting money or food or whatever. Yeah, I remember that. I didn't remember that was so messy. I remembered it was really fun and nice. And right after tsunami, like you said, it was a good way to connect with people and help animals, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really was. And
Yeah.
it kicked off what was an incredible community of people who are all passionate about making a difference. And we
Sure.
had 2 or 3 more walks after that and over a few years. And yeah, so it was
Yeah.
really amazing, really
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. And
So
Mark is from Tokyo.
yes. Yeah. So my
Your dog.
dog, yeah. Yeah. So Maho and I actually both ended up adopting dogs as well from the same shelter.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know Maku, I'll have to put a little picture of him in the show notes because
Okay.
he doesn't, every time I get out the camera to take a picture, he still hides. He's not at all
Oh,
interested in being on camera. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. But yeah, he was
Wow.
amazing. And
What a
yeah,
life change from a shelter in a cage to Los Angeles, with Tokyo and in Los Angeles.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Amazing.
exactly. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it blows my mind. He is turning 10. So it's
Oh,
unbelievable.
wow.
It's been 10
Yeah.
years.
Time
Unbelievable.
flies.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So you've been working with the Humane League Japan,
That's right.
and I am just so inspired by the work that you guys are doing. And I think that I'm just really excited that I get to have you on the show today to learn more in more detail about what you're doing, and for all of our listeners and viewers to learn more about what you're doing as well. So, can you
Yeah.
can you kick us off with telling us a little bit more about what you do for the Humane League Japan?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me on the program. Yeah. The Humane League Japan is Japan operation for the Humane League, and the Humane League is headquartered in the U.S. and there are teams in UK and also Mexico. And I'm the regional manager and for Japan, and my responsibility is to guide the strategy here and the team in Japan. And our mission is to end the suffering of animals, the use for food. And in Japan in particular, we focus on layer hen and freeing layer hens from caged confinement. So in short, eliminating caged facilities from egg production. That's my job. Yeah, and I work closely with Mika, my staff, the staff in Japan, and we meet corporation, asking them to shift to use cage-free eggs, purchase only cage-free eggs, and then make a policy.
That's so, I mean, it's amazing. And I'm curious, do you know, you may not know a number, but like what percentage of corporations in Japan are using cage-free versus not? Is it like literally over 90% are probably still not pledged to cage-free?
Well, there are several big corporations have already pledged to go to cage-free policy. They use only cage-free. But so in Japan, about 99% eggs are coming from caged confinement. So when you think about that, yeah, I think the companies that use cage-free eggs are pretty, small.
Yeah, must be. If 99% are coming from cage confinement. I mean, that's amazing. So what does it mean if a corporation pledges to be cage-free? How so let me ask this question. Do most of the eggs in Japan come from Japan? And then what does it mean if they pledge to be cage-free?
So Japan egg is unusually self-sufficient food in Japan. So everything's come from Japan. Yeah, it completes within the country. Not the feeding though. Feeding usually imported. But anyway, what was your next question? I'm sorry.
So what does it mean if they pledge to be cage-free? Who's providing? So I'm thinking the next step back in the process, like who's providing the cage-free eggs? Are there different egg corporations that provide cage-free versus caged, or is that a split within a corporation?
Yes, got it. Usually cage-free policies, there's a timeline by 2025, 2027. So they still have a few years to change. So currently, like I said, there's very little amount of cage-free eggs in the market. But I think it's growing because they have to grow. They have to add more cage-free eggs in the market because there is a demand, right? So we're creating the demand. So current suppliers have to change the cage-free some portion, and there's a huge egg distributor in Japan. They have to probably add more cage-free into their selection or options to sell big corporations.
Okay, cool. So it's kind of like a bottom-up approach that's changing the industry from the demand, which is really cool. Do consumers care about that? Have you found that consumers care whether the eggs are cage-free yet or not?
At this point, I'd say if they probably don't know where the kids, eggs came from. Once they know, they say they want to change. But when they see the price, I don't know if they're really buying the cage-free eggs. But I started in 2017, and since then I feel there's a strong, there's a momentum, and it seems like it's getting stronger and stronger. And I started seeing one cage-free brand in one retail. Like when you go to even local store, there is one small selection of cage-free. So there's something.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah,
like it's changing slowly
yeah,
or quickly, because I would say the same thing here about the States. I mean, from 2017 to now, and granted I'm in California, so it's a bit of a bubble in terms of like people caring about
yes,
animal welfare. So I don't always know the big picture,
yeah,
but it does
yeah.
seem like more and more people just that I'm surrounded by know about the difference and say,
Okay.
oh, okay, yeah, I want to buy cage free and are spending the few extra dollars to do that. But I do feel like that is a newer thing in the past couple of years, and changing quickly as knowledge makes it out, right? Because
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is we just don't know much about where our
Mm,
food comes from. Um, that's just kind of the reality of the way I guess the world has progressed in the past 40 years or whatever. There's kind of a detachment of where food is actually coming from.
yeah, especially you live in a city, for example, Tokyo. You don't see animals, right? You see cats and dogs, but livestock people, they're isolated.
Mhm.
But yeah, U.S. actually collective efforts, and then one of the groups is the Humane League. But Humane League started working corporate outreach and corporate work from 2015, and since then things have changed. The major food corporations have changed to go cage free by 2025, and that actually created the momentum. And I think by now, over 400 corporations in the US only have pledged to go cage free.
Wow.
And that's, yeah, I think I remember 2005 or maybe, or seven, there was only few percent of cage free in the US, but now 20, over 20. And we're expecting 2025, maybe over 50, 60.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow,
there's
that's
that sort
amazing.
of changes. Yes, it's amazing. Yeah.
And that is so Open Wing Alliance, which I know is somehow connected with the Humane League. Is that something that follows along this effort for the rest of the world?
Yeah, yeah. So Open Wing Alliance initiated by the Human League,
Okay.
and the groups, like there are 77 members now, over in 63 countries, and our effort is to, mission is one goal, cage free, right? And then groups in Asia or Europe, Africa, they gather together and then work to end cage to confinement. So yeah, it's connected.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you say groups, so is that people come together to volunteer, or what makes up a group in a location?
I see. Yeah. For example, there are local groups in Japan, right? For example, Animal Rights Center, and there are organizations like that. It could be NPO, it could be maybe small groups, regional groups. They may have been working with cage free or may not, but OWA gather the energy and also people resources in order to make the cage free policies cage free happen in regional areas.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. 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 Cool. Cool.
yeah.
Um, so for anyone, I don't know if we'll have any listeners, but there might be somebody who is asking this question, like, what's actually the difference in cage free versus caged? Like, what does it mean to be cage free, and what are the improvements in the just the way that the animal's treated by being
Mm.
cage free instead of caged?
Yeah. So in terms of Japan, there is no standard.
Okay.
There's only one. There's no standard. So, for example, when we say cage, eliminate all cage confinement, that means battery cage. Do you know? Have you heard of like very small cages, and there are
Okay.
two or sometimes five birds in one cage
Okay.
crushed together? Yeah, and then there is enriched cages, which is a little better, but it's still the height is about 40 centimeter, which is high as the height of the hen, and there are, yeah, there are less, There's parties and a nest area, but it's still, the movement is restricted. When we say cage free, eliminate all that, and
Okay.
then birds can freely roam around, then open wings, have
Okay.
vertical
Okay.
movement.
Okay. Okay. So it becomes like a big room where they can all move around inside that room.
Yeah, that's correct.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wow. So let's get into your story a little bit. And I will quickly just say hi to everyone who is here joining us. If you guys have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat and we can do a Q&A at the end of this. Or if you just want to say hi, you can do that too.
Yeah, my family
Um,
may be watching too.
oh, I love it. I love it. Let's get into your story a little bit. So, where did the inspiration to get involved in animal welfare come for you? Like when in your life, and can you point to something that kind of started you to be like, I want to get involved with helping animals? Oh, Maho, I lost your microphone.
Sorry.
Oh, there we go.
I was coughing. I'm sorry. Yeah, I've always been a animal lover, and my grandma was known to be a local cat lady. Anything, cat issues, somebody would call her, and then she'll be there. She would be there, right? But things like I was influenced. I really liked the Charlotte the Web. What's
Yeah, the book.
Sorry, right? Yeah, the
Yeah,
book.
Charlotte's Web. Uh-huh.
I like the book, and but I think something sensational happened when I was about 25 years or 22 years ago, 3 years ago. I went to a hog farm, and that changed my life. It was for my work, and I remember it was in northern part of Japan called Hokkaido. I was driving. I went into the farm, but from a little bit from a distance, I heard some noise, like machinery noise, like making squeaky sound, wee wee. And then we went into the farm, and I noticed the sound was hogs screaming. And in a farm, I saw nasty things, and not from that day I stopped eating meat. Yeah, that's a game changer for me. Yeah.
It's interesting. It's ironic how it's similar to mine, because for me it was pigs as well,
Oh,
and it was when I was 3. But I was on my grandparents' farm, and that was a small farm operation, so it
yep.
wasn't as cruel as like factory farming is now by any
Mm,
means. But even I even then was just like, "Ugh, no meat," and I still remember
yeah.
saying, "I'm never eating meat again." And of course, it
Yeah.
didn't. My parents were like, "Oh, I don't think so." So I
Oh,
had
yeah.
10 pieces. They would cut 10 pieces of meat for
Yeah.
every dinner, and I would have to sit there and eat those. And, we laugh about it now, but there were nights that I was there until like midnight at the table trying to get down
Oh,
my meat.
oh
But,
my.
who knows? Like,
Yeah.
my health, it could have helped. I don't know. But it was
Mhm.
when I was 19 that
Mm.
I realized like what a vegetarian was, and I was like, oh, I can be a vegetarian and I can eat off the vegetarian menu and I can make
Yeah.
vegetarian meals instead of just eating like the sides to every meal. Because
Right.
I was like, okay, the potatoes and the broccoli, that's what I'll eat. For
Yeah.
years I just ate the sides.
Right.
So yeah, it's ironic, it's similar.
Interesting. Did you
But
have trouble finding vegetarian food when
when
you were in Tokyo? Yeah.
It's funny because when I was moving, everyone said it's going to be really, really difficult to find
Mm.
vegetarian food.
Mm.
And I did not find it hard. I
Good.
had a friend who was a vegetarian who taught me how to ask for vegetarian food. So I knew before I even arrived how to say what I needed to say in Japanese to ask for
Yeah.
vegetarian food. And the biggest culprit would be like dashi. Like the
Yeah. Every,
for everyone who's listening, kind of like a broth that is
right.
typically made with fish and it's in a lot of things. So that
Mm-hmm.
was probably the hardest. But I mean, there's so many vegetables in the Japanese diet.
It is
Um,
actually. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I honestly felt like it was easier for me to eat vegetarian in Japan than it had been in the US. But I think that's because
Interesting.
in the US, my diet was very, I guess, like processed food. I didn't know any better. So I was just
Hmm.
buying things from the store and throwing them in the pan. And,
Right.
I didn't know any better. Whereas when I got to Japan, I was eating a lot of freshly prepared food, which was
Mm.
vegetables. And
Right.
so it was, easier. And then, now being both vegetarian and gluten free, because
Mhm.
since the time in Japan, I've developed an autoimmune disease and celiac disease.
Okay.
So
All
now I
right.
have to have
Oh,
both.
that's-
So I don't know if it would be a little harder now than it was then. But because soy is something I can't have, or soy
oh
sauce,
yeah,
I
that's
can have
tough.
soy, but not
Yeah.
soy sauce. So I don't
Hmm.
know, but I really didn't find it that hard. And I will say, I
That's good.
remember one of the things that you and I and some of the other ladies that
Hmm.
started Animal Walk Tokyo together
Hmm.
bonded over vegan restaurants. Because
That's
I
right.
remember when I met all of you, I
Yeah.
learned about all these vegan restaurants that
That's
existed in Tokyo. Um,
yes.
would you say that vegan restaurants are still very popular? I mean, popular is not the right word, but there's still plenty of vegan restaurants in Tokyo. And then what about in cities that are not as big as Tokyo?
Yeah. So I would just say yeah, vegan restaurants. I think more and more vegan restaurants in Tokyo, but they come and go, right? Yeah, there is new one. Like there's three vegan restaurant in this neighborhood, and I thought, whoa, this is great, and all of them are gone.
Oh,
Uh, but there are new ones, and there is a coffee chain that has dedicated to vegans, and it's a Komeda Coffee, which is a big coffee chain, and one chain is vegan, and so it's yeah spreading. And maybe because of the pandemic, people are more aware of the relationship between animals and food and us, and they tend to go vegan or vegetarian. So they skip the process of, knowing farm animal welfare, which is good because our end goal is to not to eat, not to harm any animals.
mhm.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, isn't it? So you're finding more and more people going vegan. I think like that's really interesting.
Yeah. People, at least I'd say, more aware of the choice option. But
Mhm.
still, maybe I'm in Tokyo. I'm in this bubble, like you said, like in Los Angeles. So if you go away from Tokyo, I'm not really sure.
Hmm. Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, I
Yeah.
mean that makes sense, and a lot of this stuff it does seem like it's more common in the cities. I guess probably because there's just more people, and when there's more people in the
Yeah.
city, there's more diversity and different new ideas come up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it just happens. Um,
Yeah.
what are like so in the work that you do? What do you
Mhm.
find to be the biggest challenge in driving change, influencing change? What's like the biggest challenge? And I wonder how that may differ in Japan versus in some other countries.
Well, challenges. Overall, like in general, challenges. The biggest one is the awareness is low or different. Maybe I should say, because there are a lot of people in this neighborhood walk with dogs. There are a lot of cats lovers, right? But why doesn't it go, beyond that, right?
Mhm.
Um, I think it's something to do with information, knowledge, and awareness. But in terms of my work, one, yeah, definitely awareness is one. And corporations are more, my job is to go to corporations and ask them to purchase or change the cage free, sell only cage free. But businesses are very cautious here. They want to make sure all the aspects of change doesn't take any risks, and what are the risks, what are the solutions, and take so much time to figure out high risk management, right?
Mhm.
And then finally they publish Cagefree. So they prepare well in order to make a policy, so it takes time. At the same time, group mindedness, and then corporations usually say, well, we cannot be the first one, we have to change together. Yeah, and then change itself is not positive in Japan. Keeping things as it is, people spend more time and effort about for keeping things as it is. So, well, let's make change. That doesn't sound good to them sometimes. Those are the changes. Yeah,
Mhm.
the challenges.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mm.
That it all makes sense. And I mean, I do feel like maybe then once the decision is made and once the change is made, perhaps it's more sustainable because they have like gone through all of the detailed due diligence to make
Yeah.
that change.
Yes. I think so. When they decided to do it, they do it in a very systematic and good in a good quality. That's what I'm hoping. And there's one company that is a big company. They are working on creating, farm animal welfare strategy, and I think something good come out from there, and they can lead the Japanese corporations.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And it
Yeah,
definitely gives you like an optimistic thing to look at, right? Because yeah, I mean, just from my experience, from
yeah,
what I saw and living there, I would think, yes, if a big company signs on and they figure out a really clear, strong way to do it, then it does seem like, then the ball is
yeah,
rolling and,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, and this is actually the same thing in the US too. Big corporations change, then kind of like started the momentum. And then the followers, for them, it's easier to make change. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm.
and I would think, if you're running a
Mhm.
business, of course, it's easier to change once you've seen someone else prove that it works. It's like, oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
so bad.
As you can imagine, you can change the supply chain. Group of big corporations change and supply chain change, right?
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
That's actually I really thought that the THL's strategy is brilliant. Um, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, because you're really looking at changing the whole thing from the bottom up, like we were talking earlier, which really sounds, yeah, sounds like realistic. And you know what? So I know it's pretty hard to do the work that you're doing. Like, what keeps you going? Where do you find the inspiration to keep going? 'Cause it's been 5 years now, right? 5 years with the Humane League.
2017. Yeah, fifth year. I just finished the fourth year. Yeah, and I'm going to fifth year. I think I see I believe this strategy works. And also the organization I work with, the Human League, is pretty open to us to try something different in Japan, because strategies are different here. They trust us. That probably is a huge help for us, because locally we can basically strategize and then find the most effective way to reach the mission. Yeah, I trust the strategy. I trust that the organization. I trust that things will change if we believe. I believe that the corporation has. I still see that the people wanted to generally be better and good. And I go to corporations. They usually say that, "Oh, this is terrible. We have to do something," but they don't know how to do it. But I trust that they have the sense that this is not good, and then like they expand that. I think that's why. And I'm also mission driven. I want to make it happen.
Yeah. I think that that makes a lot of sense, and I'm with you on the belief that I think almost everybody would change it and would, from a consumer standpoint, purchase cage free if they could. From a corporation, be cage free if they could see it. I do think that people generally want to see those things stop, and they want to see things change, and it's just a matter of figuring out how to do it and feel safe enough to make the decision, right? And or
Yeah.
feel you have the means enough to make the decision. So
Mhm.
I mean, I love that you're saying that you see the strategic vision and it works and you believe in it, because yeah, it's like slowly but surely those opportunities, the more cage-free eggs are on the market, the easier they are to come by, right? For corporations and for consumers to make the decisions.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I think so. It's when we started. Yeah, there wasn't enough cage free, and still isn't. But because corporations, it's kind of like coming both way. Corporation changes and the producers changing. And one of THO Japan's job, which is to directly work with producers. So we connect with producers and talk with the producers too. When they're cage free, we talk with them and get their support, yeah, on our side, so that then we can connect the corporations with cage free farmers.
And it seems like they would be excited to connect with you and get their name. I mean, I almost feel like you could be like a marketing channel for them, or like a sales channel. It's like, when you go in, here's the solution, here's this cage-free producer. So I feel like if I was the producer, I'd be like, yeah, like I definitely want to work with you. Like help me get to these corporations.
Yeah, uh, yeah, that's right. But we have to always be mindful that we're promoting cage free, but more like we're promoting layer hens being free from cage confinement, rather than, yeah, trying to promote cage free is one way, but we always should be mindful that we work for animals, we're advocate for layer hens.
Okay.
So yeah, but there are a lot of cage-free farmers. New cage-free farmers, for example. This is a new phenomenon recently. I've seen young producers. They want to persuade animal welfare, so they become cage-free farmer. I've encountered these people. I thought it was amazing. They'd rather be a cage-free, well, like animal welfare advocate, but they became a cage-free farmer in order to advocate for farm animal welfare and
Okay.
cage-free.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, because that's a way to like influence from the inside out, right? And then,
yeah,
so, I mean, I think you're saying too, so the goal is ultimately beyond cage free.
yeah,
Is that's what you're saying? Is like
yeah,
ultimately, cage free is a stepping stone to get to hens truly free, and I guess pasture, or I don't know, yeah, maybe
free
pasture or
range.
just open, yeah, free range. That's the word I'm
Yeah,
looking for. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
This is a step-by-step change. No battery cage, and going to in the end, less eggs, less animal harms. That's our goal. So it takes time, and when we're doing this as this is a work, if we can't see the end result quickly, you get discouraged. But I myself always remind myself that we're part of the change, in in the process of the change. And so
Mhm.
as the staff in Japan, and I think the rest of the team, we should be mindful this is part of the big change.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's an amazing way to think about it, honestly. I think it really
yeah.
is. And if you weren't doing the work, then it wouldn't be progressing, So it's,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, I think there's so much value in what you all are doing. And I'm so
Well, thank
thankful for
you.
it,
Thank
honestly. I,
you.
I know, I know so many of us are so thankful for it.
Well,
Can
thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So, one of the things that I like to wrap up episodes with is asking all of my guests if they will share one simple idea off the top of their head that listeners and viewers can try in their daily lives to make a difference for animals and the environment. Do you have an idea you can share?
Yeah, think of where their food is coming from, especially livestock, with meat, eggs. Where are they coming from? And how the animals are raised. I just want people to be mindful when they shop or eat. Yeah, and just follow the trace the root to the root that definitely goes to animals and how they're raised and how they're kept and how they're slaughtered. That's one simple thing. And as an action, the Humane League has humaneleague.org, and then please go visit our page. And there is a page link called First Action Network.
Okay.
It's a very easy way to connect and get started taking actions. Just sign it, and then every day you can do something to make change for animals.
Oh, that's really cool. That's really
Thank you.
cool. I will link to that in the show
Oh, yes.
notes, so
Thank
that
you.
people can go check it out. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
It's did you want to say something else about it?
Oh, no,
Okay.
California is actually a very progressive state, right? I know you said, you're in a bubble, but California, the state, there's a law. You can't use caged confinement for egg production, and you can't even sell eggs came from cage confinement. So people changed it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was probably I don't know, 2 to 3 years ago. I remember the
Yeah,
proposition, and
that's right.
yeah, and it was consumers. I mean, it was citizens of California who made that
Sure.
decision. Obviously, there were people who pushed it to get it onto the voting, but at that point, then consumers chose it. And I guess it just goes back to that thing that we were saying earlier, which I think most people would
Mm,
change it if the opportunity's there, you know?
yes,
So,
that's right.
um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think again, even to the point that we made or you were making about how when one place goes and leads the way, more come. So, this happened in California, so it can happen in other states and other countries. And I love that you've got this resource, the Fast Action Network, where people can go become a part of this. That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just go join the Fast Action Network, and there's a way to make the donation for our organization. So your support is always, welcome. And
The best way to make a donation is how? Is there a link on the humaneleague.org? Is that the best
yes,
way to make a donation?
yeah, there's it's
Okay.
easy. Hmm.
Perfect. And the best way for someone to get in touch with you if they'd like to talk to you more, what's the best way to do that?
Um, email is probably the best
Okay.
now.
I can
Yeah,
put
we
an
have
email in the show notes for you. I'll put an email in
sure.
the show notes for you.
Yeah, and that we have the Facebook for the Humane League Japan, so you can send a message. That way, it's fine. Yeah, we have Instagram. You can send a message from there too.
Perfect. Okay, I will link
Yeah.
to all of that in the show notes. Thank you
Oh,
so much for
thank
coming on and telling me and everybody
you.
watching and listening about the work that you're doing. It's incredible and it's exciting to learn and hear about. And I can't wait to see where it continues to go. It's
Oh,
the
well,
ball's
thank you.
rolling, right?
Well,
So,
that's
yeah.
exactly, yeah, yeah. Well, thank you, Brandy, for your work, continued effort and work for animals and ours. Thank you so much for having me today.
Hmm.
It's really great.
It's awesome. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. All
Me
right. Thank
too.
you to everyone who joined us, and we will see you all soon. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.